on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of CryptoZombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. Are you having fun yet? Tell me the truth. Are you having fun yet? In these markets, our good old buddy Bart Simpson shows up yet again. This was a classic pattern that we used to see all through 2017 and 2018. Well, looks like he is back with a vengeance. And this is exactly why I said I was a little skeptical about trading the news event. Now, although we did have that initial pump and, we were technically due for that move, was that a little bit too preemptive of a move based off just the news versus the technicals? Not to mention the fact that just this morning, we have U.S. inflation, CPI, coming out at 7.9% in the past year. This is the highest that it has been since 1982, a 40-year high. Now, during this time, you would think, well, shouldn't Bitcoin be pumping if this news is coming out? And yet this morning, we have this fresh dump. Now, if we also have a look at what's going on in the stocks are continuing to fall yet again today. So in a time where we're seeing commodities skyrocketing, we're seeing Bitcoin falling, we're seeing gold attempting to have a breakout, right? What does this mean for Bitcoin? Where does it leave Bitcoin in the grand scheme of things? Well, I do want to talk about what is going on right now. We obviously have the war over in Europe. We have this situation over here. We don't know what they're going to do. Are they going to raise rates? Can they even do that right now? It certainly sounds like a cocktail of massive destruction. Now, obviously, I'm not trying to freak anyone out, but you have to admit, the more that these news stories and these things keep coming out, it does sort of seem like the dominoes are lining up. So, should we be worried about the Bitcoin price? Well, today's video is going to be another somewhat shorter video. I do want to talk about something I believe to be very, very important. As usual, we will look at the short-term time frames, the long-term time frames, but I think today we're going to zoom out and have a bigger look at the overall picture. So, if that sounds good to you, you know what to do. If you're not subscribed, definitely consider it. And if you are still around watching these videos after the last year that we've had for Bitcoin, well, you are a trooper, and I will tell you what, once we do come out of this like the phoenix rising from the flames, well, congratulations, my friends. When everybody says, oh, you got lucky, well, you just tell them what happened the past couple years, and yeah, that was luck, right? No, it wasn't luck. I showed up, and I did what I had to do. So that's how I'm starting my video today. All right, so diving in and having a look right here, as I've been saying, we do have this very critical point of control. Bitcoin is still above this point of control right here on the VPVR. That level sits at around $38,040. So staying above this level and the fact that we do keep putting in these higher lows is still not like overly bullish for Bitcoin, but it is showing strength. It's showing that every time we come down to these levels, there are buyers waiting to come in and purchase those cheap Bitcoin. So that is something that you do have to consider. We are still in this range. We're range bound. Unfortunately, nothing major has changed. So there's not a lot of TA to go over today. The only thing that I will point out is that it depends on which chart you're looking at. For example, if you look at the spot chart over here, you notice that Bitcoin is putting in more of a rising wedge pattern, right? Which is actually a bearish pattern. It usually does end up falling to the downside. This is coming after a move to the downside. So whether you look at this as, sort of a bear pennant or whatever, that formation could signal that, it would say that we could potentially keep going lower. If you actually come over here though, and you have a look at the CME futures, you will notice that it is much more clearly defined as a ascending triangle, right? We're seeing that right here. So when you have an ascending triangle, this is usually a very bullish sign, right? But it is, of course, coming off of a 50% downtrend. So without harping on it too much, I'm not going to keep going into the TA unless you're trading, every single day. Obviously, the levels to look for if you are looking for a long, that level is right here at around 37,256. That's where I would expect that bounce. And, the resistance at the top level, the top band is still sitting around 46,000. Like I said, $46,400 for me is essentially the level that we need to break in order for things to become full on bull mode. And obviously, getting bearish would be falling below that $34,000 level. Still the possibility of, going down to 29, 28. I have never ruled that out for the past few months. I've always transparently said there is still that potential of putting in a giant M pattern. But right now, as everyone's watching this video, we are still in this pattern. Whether you see it as a triangle or you see it as a wedge, doesn't matter. We're trending upwards. We're putting in higher lows. Until this structure breaks, you can't really say anything different than what we've been saying, right? So it's the same thing we've been talking about on the channel. But we can look at what is happening in the background. So price action, not really any difference. We're still just bouncing around the same range. Nothing too surprising over here. But we can see what is going on as far as Bitcoin accumulation, purchases, on-chain data, retail, what they're doing. Well, if you've actually been watching recently, and I know Benjamin Cohen, he actually was talking about whale games, if you guys saw what he was talking about. And you can see right here that Bitcoin's third largest whale has added to its holdings after an additional Bitcoin purchase. So according to BitInfo charts, over the last 2 days, this massive whale purchased over 750 Bitcoin worth about 29 million, bringing the total stash to over $5 billion. Now, although the whale is anonymous, some people are speculating that it could be the cold wallet of an exchange. Makes a lot of sense, right? Exchanges have these huge wallets. But the only thing is, if you look at the activity of the way that this whale buys and sells, unless it is just an exchange trying to mess with our mind, it doesn't really make sense because exchanges just use their cold storage. So you would see funds going in and out and it wouldn't matter what the price is. But this particular whale, the third largest whale, tends to accumulate the dips and sell on the rallies. In fact, the 318 Bitcoin that were purchased at around $38,200. And then they added another 432 at around $38,500. So obviously this particular whale is buying the dip, right? So that's good news, right? Somebody seems to think it's good to be buying Bitcoin at these levels, but we do in fact have inflation rising, and we know that they're going to have to do something about this eventually. Or are they? I don't know. Kind of like the executive order where they basically came out and said, well, we're paying attention to it, but we'll do something later, but we're acknowledging it, but we're not going to ban it. Okay, that's sort of what we've seen with the FOMC meetings. And we do know we have another one coming up where they're saying that they could raise the interest rates up a few basis points. However, having a look at this cocktail that is going on right now, we have the war, we have commodities up, we have stocks down, we have inflation up, and they're potentially looking to raise rates. I don't know, guys. It sounds to me like that could cause a lot of problems for the US. Do they really want to do that, especially during an election year? Not too sure. But we do have Bill Gates coming out saying if you have less money than Elon Musk, watch out, referring to Bitcoin. But interestingly enough, now, first of all, I don't know who really cares what Bill Gates has to say. And honestly, if you're watching this channel and you're a crypto person, a Bitcoin person, I think we know that maybe we shouldn't exactly listen to what good old Gates has to say. But, in contrast, institutional investment in the space for Bitcoin has been positive after a prolonged outflow. So CoinShares weekly info data for the last week suggested inflows of 17 million for Bitcoin. This is a positive number for the 5th consecutive week. Now, I want to point out what Jack said over here on Twitter. Jack Henry. He says, what happens when CPI is skyrocketing, the Fed fund rate is zero, and the yield curve is inverting all at once? Now try to find a time where that also happened in the past. Now the point is, on this chart, you can see it has never happened before. Now oddly enough, he does choose to start his chart around 1950. If you do go into the 40s, you'll notice that there was something very similar that happened during the 1940s. But you know what else happened during the 1940s? World War II. Okay? Not trying to freak anyone out, but you could see how things are not particularly looking great here. Now, another thing that I want to point out, and this is all going to tie together, so stick around with me. In 23 days, the 19 millionth Bitcoin will be mined. And as Arrhythmic pointed out, there has been a big boost in the number of new entities who have been buying Bitcoin in just the last week. It broke through a pretty rough downtrend, which started after the previous all-time high. According to this Glassnode chart, somebody even points out Metcalfe law right here, which, you can look into that if you're interested. Essentially, as the network grows, it becomes more valuable. But if you take anything away from what we've seen so far, what's the point of me saying all this? Well, the point in me saying all of this is exactly this right here. So we have inflation at an all-time high. We have commodities skyrocketing, right? Oil, gas prices, even though it did pull down a little bit, come on, still in my neighborhood, we're pushing on $6 over here. $6 already in some of the places in the US, like over on the West Coast, right? So we have that situation. We have stocks falling. Then globally, we have this war that's ensuing. We have exports not working out, right now. It's obviously we're seeing these prices go up. And on top of that, we have the US coming out deciding what they're going to have to do. Are they going to raise these rates? Now, I'm just going to point this out right now. This is putting them in a bit of a pickle. This is not looking good. They are pressured into a corner. And if they do raise rates during a time like this, well, people are most likely not going to be able to afford the cost of living. And what they might do is actually jumpstart a potential recession. So how does this relate to Bitcoin at all? Well, getting back to the fact that we're going to have the 19 millionth Bitcoin in about 23 days mined, this means that there's only 2 million Bitcoin left to be mined ever in the history of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is incredibly scarce. Think about it. Okay, so we're having an issue with wheat right now. Well, you can always just grow more wheat, right? You can always just drill for more oil. Yes, eventually we'll run out of oil, but probably not in our lifetime, right? Gold, you can just mine more gold. You can print more dollars, which is honestly something they're probably going to end up just having to do again and having inflation continue, whereas Bitcoin is truly an inflation hedge. And although you are laughing right now, maybe not you, but somebody's laughing saying, oh, inflation hedge, yeah, down 50%. It is slowly catching on. You're seeing the institutions buying right here. You're seeing these whales accumulating. And, compared to what Bill Gates was saying, you're seeing institutions not care about things like this. Inflow over just the past week, 17 million for Bitcoin, according to CoinShares. You're seeing bank accounts getting shut down, frozen, sanctions, people not able to move their money, back and forth. These are all just advertisements for Bitcoin. This is why I continue to ignore the FUD, ignore the short-term moves, and understand that we are involved in something that is literally changing the world. People just don't realize it yet. And it's hard on a day-to-day basis when you have to deal with these, Bart Simpson moves. Obviously, it can get a little depressing, right? Especially if you're new to the space. But you have to understand that Bitcoin is solving a much, much larger problem. Now, what else are we seeing here? We're still seeing positive news. Goldman Sachs offering clients access to Ethereum funds through Galaxy Digital Institution, reported by the regulatory documents filed with the US SEC. And on top of that, we have the Thai government over in Thailand deciding to approve certain tax relief measures for trading of digital assets, as well as tax exemptions for funding startups. So they're looking to embrace blockchain and digital technologies as well. It was noted that the transfer of cryptocurrencies and digital assets of the government-approved exchanges would be exempt from tax, VAT, value-added tax, right? Crypto trading is growing at an impressive rate in Thailand. Crypto trading accounts were growing by 27.6% month on month as of September 2021. Far ahead of stock trading accounts. The new tax policies are expected to run from the 1st of April to the end of 2023. So if you take anything away from this video, I think it's clearly showing that everything happening right now has been nothing more than a giant advertisement for Bitcoin. And you have to remember, Bitcoin was not a startup. I mean, even Ethereum had a token sale, right? Bitcoin has essentially been free money. Anyone could mine it with a laptop. They were getting 50 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. Now, of course, it's a lot more difficult. No one's ever put a gun to anyone's head and said, buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin has no CEO. Bitcoin has no, okay, so you got guys like me who talk about it, but no one's telling me to talk about Bitcoin. I talk about Bitcoin because I believe in it. You bought Bitcoin because you believe in it. Or maybe you bought Bitcoin because you thought the price was going to go up. I mean, shoot, I'm guilty of that. When I first bought Bitcoin, I bought because I wanted the price to go up. But now I don't care about the price of Bitcoin. I look at my portfolio. Yes, I'm down in my dollar amount, but you know what makes me more sad? When I'm down in Bitcoin, when I lose Bitcoin, or I have to sell Bitcoin because I do have to sell Bitcoin to live. Totally transparently, guys. I have to sell some Bitcoin sometimes because I use my Bitcoin to pay my bills. But it really hurts me when I have to see some of that Bitcoin get let go. And seeing everything that's happening, everything that I just stated, all of this global economic turmoil, bank accounts getting frozen, potential war coming out, inflation at an all-time high. How is Bitcoin, maybe not the 100%, I'm not saying Bitcoin could solve world hunger, although some maxis would say it could, maybe it could, I don't know. But what I am saying is that it is, in my opinion, in our lifetime, from my perspective, the best possible bet that we have right now. So that's my story. And I'm sticking to it. My name is K-Dub. This is CryptoZombie. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a little bit of a rant day today. What else are you going to talk about on a day like today? At the end of the day, if you believe in it, this doesn't bother you. You just see it as opportunities to accumulate. If you are over leveraged or you have too much money and, you're not paying your mortgage, well, then you probably need to reassess the situation. Getting back to Bill Gates, if you have less money than Elon, watch out. I mean, no one's telling anyone to go 100% into Bitcoin, it's all about hedging against it, 1 to 3%, 5%. Some of these guys are representing 10%. But at the end of the day, guys, you do you. I love you. I'll be here either way. And one of these days, you're going to turn on the CryptoZombie channel and we're going to be looking at the charts and we're going to see a news article that says Bitcoin has fallen from $400,000 all the way down to $100,000. Bitcoin is dead. And well, we'll probably just look back and laugh on that because we know the truth and we understand why Bitcoin is truly the answer to a lot of the problems that we're facing today. So I will continue to keep you guys updated as usual. You know how it goes. Thank you again. You're the best. If you haven't got subscribed, I do appreciate it. Once we get some major moves on the chart, I'll start bringing you more in-depth analysis, but it's really just been range bound. There's not much I can really talk about on the charts until we see something happen. So that is it for me. If you are interested in trading, be very careful. Obviously, it's crazy times right now. Definitely don't really trade news. News is not the best thing to trade. But if you do want to learn how to trade technically, you can check out the tutorials popping up right here, right now. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.